There's a harbor in my heart where you used to fix your sails. There was no berthing fee to pay, and there were no documents to sign. You used to just relax before figuring out what you needed to do, for the ocean is vast, yet wherever you went, the currents always lead back to you. Now there's a museum in town full of memories of you. Seems the council here have nothing better to do. They change room by room as the outer you grew. But when you switch off the lights, the inner you still glows. There's a harbor in my heart where you used to fix your sails. There was no berthing fee to pay, and there were no documents to sign. If the storms grow too long, why not set sail for me? Otherwise, at least know that there's a part of you here, alive and so full of fire that I'm wondering if it's you that's powering all of these lights. That I'm wondering if it could be you who is powering all these street lights. There's a harbor in my heart where you can come and fix your sails. There will be no berthing fee to pay, and there will never be any documents to sign.
Evening, Brad. Okay, that's a song to the people we've lost along the way. Now, before I bring in our Thursday night guest, and he comes on every second Thursday, I just want to let you know the risk, because we live in a world now where if you speak out, you can draw the attention of those above you. And so Lindsay, as this psychologist, and we tread very carefully, is extraordinarily brave and risking a lot to be here and share his views and thoughts with us. So I'd like you to know that, maybe share the word of what he's doing, because at the moment, I think in Australia, he's the only one who's doing it. And I really admire his courage for it. This Thursday show is literally one of my favorite shows that we're coming on. Tonight, we're going to talk not just about Bondi, but other things to do with that. So let's bring on the grab man. How you doing?
I'm more than humbled and embarrassed by that introduction. But
no, it's true. It's true. I think people don't realize, they take things for granted, but it is. You know what I mean? It's much easier to stay silent.
I think there's a degree of, I hope there's a degree of disbelief in the average person that just expressing an opinion which is out of sync with what the powers that be deem to be the mainstream narrative or the consensus view, I think average people don't have any real idea that that's a dangerous thing to do.
No.
And I mean, it's unlikely I'll go to jail if I speak intemperately, but I could lose
Mm.
my income, and that would have
Yeah.
a significant impact on my life.
Devastating.
Yeah. So, but I do this out of respect and admiration for you, out of love for our audience,
Yeah.
and as an act of public service. From the very beginning, we've talked about these conversations as being like the proselytizing campfire in the wilderness. That's
Yep.
why the loose
Yeah,
theme
we're
of this is
chatting.
campfire chats. And the whole idea is to build a cheery fire in the dark, deep wilderness and just sit around it, enjoying the fire and maintaining a pleasant activity around the fire. And people wandering in the wilderness may be attracted by it. And they may come and say, "You people seem to be having a great time. You seem to be pretty well balanced. How do we join?" And we say, "Take a seat." The only thing you can't do is stuff that's hateful or violent, or things that you would not have done to you.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
So you're probably way too young to remember Dave Clark 5, I think it was. "I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood."
I do remember that, actually. Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. So shout out to Helen. I'm back in white tonight. I'm the disembodied head against the white background. That's because I wanted to wear the Be Free T-shirt, and so far I've only acquired a white one. So,
all the B3 in the bus is just flying out the thing. I think we've got some bands here that we just got today because people, we've been giving the bands, like we only had a few left ourselves, and we've been giving them to people that were out of them at the moment. So people really like it, which is great. Oh, thanks, Jen.
So we're going to we'll put another order in January and beef up our Be Free gear.
I think the bands are good because they're just subtle. It's just like a little secret code thing. You know what I mean? I'll just see. Just look pretty for a bit.
Okay. Yep. I'm just doing my song and dance for you, Michael. This shows you do have to be crazy to be a psychologist.
We've got them again. Be Free.
Yep.
And I like wearing it. This came from Margie McKenzie, but I like it because it's like a code. We know what it means. And the other side are going, "What's that? A hornet?" And that, well, they don't even care. So it's like it's sort of a version of the Christian fish, if you way, just like a secret code of finding each other. Now
listen, I can't let much more time go without, and I don't know whether I'm the only person in Australia who doesn't know what's happened to Michael's nose.
Oh, Florence.
Oh, Florence bit you. Oh.
We said yesterday we drove out to Lightning Ridge and then to Garwin, which is this opal community, and we did it was amazing. But she's 1987, so she's bouncing, and there was a strange sound. And so I was talking to Bill Lober about what to do about the mechanic. And it's just about getting under there, tightening everything up. But she's old, you got a thing, and then bang, and then she gets you one back, obviously.
There you go. Good old Florence the bus is doing her best by you. But
apart from that, she's amazing. She's come over the mountains today from Tenterfield to Casino. There was a range there. She tore over that. And so she's doing amazing at the moment. The solar's working. And people love her. We're in Tenterfield, and people are looking around the town going, "They're here, where are they?" And then they found us in a cafe. And it's really lovely. Not everybody. Most people don't wonder what the hell we're doing. But and someone in this caravan park came, "I've heard about you. They've been talking about you on 774." And I went, "They have?" And, and I said, "Anything good?" She goes, "Just the facts." I went, "Oh."
Oh, you mean the facts that the fact checkers won't complain about?
That's right.
It sounds like you're heading up my way, Michael. Are we likely to have a
no? We're heading down
sometime in the new year?
We're in Lismore now, and we're leaving for Belgium. There's a farmer there who lost his farm because Big Pharma kept spraying and just the spray kept going over his property. So we're going to see him because he was a third generation farmer. He had to leave it. And so we want to do him. And then down to Christmas, of course, we're having Christmas with Kelly's family, Kelly's children somewhere. I'm not sure where, but so we're heading down for that. And then across to Mum. So Flo she's got a long way to go before she sleeps. haven't you,
Well,
Flo?
let's hope she's got a lot of miles left under her and a little bit less malice towards you, Michael.
I know she likes me. But yeah, this is a 3rd-year apprenticeship, diesel mechanic apprenticeship injury, I think. But yeah, but I love her. It's
Yeah,
amazing. You come around the corner, you're in some town, and maybe the indifference really and the apathy really bugs me. And then you come around, and there she's sitting like a flotilla in a sovereign citizen parade. You know what I mean? I think here she is, and
yeah,
yeah. So here we are. But let's talk this week. This week is all about what happened in Bondi, and I'm not
yeah,
going to talk conspiracy theories all around it. That's going like a feeding
yeah,
frenzy. I'm
yeah,
more interested in how we proceed forward, and how we deal with such a level of hate that most of us simply can't comprehend it. A father and son. I mean, imagine imagine either of us. We've both got sons going. You know what? Let's go down, kill people, and get ourselves killed. I just can't. I just can't
Okay, well,
comprehend that.
I don't have any in-depth information about what might have motivated those people, but the only thing that makes any kind of psychological sense to me is that they were driven by a belief that was so powerful that their death was actually what they were aiming for. I think they went there with the belief that there would be some significant payoff for them if they were killed in the literal execution of what it was they were trying to do. Now,
Yeah.
that's almost that's like the kamikaze pilots from the Second World War. There's very little you can do when your enemy, if they're, and I'm not for a moment saying that the people that these people were trying to represent are actually our enemy. I think there's more good people among the cohort where those two men were drawn from. I think that the good people spectacularly outweigh the handful of crazy or bad people that these two men represented. But
Yeah.
if you're confronted by somebody who has no care or consideration about what harm may come to them, that makes them an almost implacable enemy. You've got to go against all of your civilized beliefs, and you've essentially got to kill somebody like that because somebody's got to kill them because their objective is to kill the people that they perceive as their targets. So from and we've tentatively named today's conversation about emotional terrorism, and I think the knowledge that there are people who are willing to sacrifice themselves just to bring your life to an end must be a terrorizing concept. I've gathered I'm a difficult person to get on with. You're one of the rare ones that that seems to be able to tolerate me. And so I've gathered a small army of people who don't like me very much because I'm disagreeable and I tend to speak what I believe to be the truth, and I call people when I see them saying bullshit. And so, but I don't believe I've gathered anyone who dislikes me with such intensity that they'd be willing to jump off a building just in the hope that they'd land on me to kill me. I mean, do you remember the Goodies used to be on back when ABC television used to be watchable?
What I remember the Goodies. We used to race home from school to watch the Goodies.
One of the sketches they had was the Falling Scotsman Brigade, and this was an elite group of the Scots Guards whose thing was they'd climb on tall buildings and leap off and try and land on the enemy. And the trouble is they never saw active service because they lost them all in practice. So I guess one of the things that hopefully flows out of that is I want to believe that we rational but irrelevant Australians can find some form of humour even when things are incredibly dark. And I think this subject that we're talking about is an appallingly dark subject. But as with all of these conversations, Michael, what I'm hoping you and I might be able to explore is how do we ordinary people, how do the people who are grieving the lost loved ones in Bondi, how do their communities and their congregations, how do they get over this without becoming emotionally terrorized? You know, there's stories today of Jewish businesses closing down because they're fearful of the same thing. And, you know, whilst I don't necessarily advocate what I'm about to talk about, when 9/11 occurred and it was generally believed that it was a terrorist attack in an attempt to try and bring the West to its knees, I've kind of fallen out of love with that whole idea. But when that happened and the US was starting to talk about the way they were going to respond to it, my first reaction was, hang on a minute, if this is true, and if this group of terrorists were able to accumulate all of the money, all of the influence, all the expertise, and all the skill to be able to carry out these dreadful attacks, and as appalling as it was, they only killed a couple of thousand Americans. I mean, that's 300 million change. And what I would have liked to have advocated back in those days was if people literally said to the terrorists, honestly, is that the best you can do? You know, this is your so-called finest hour. You've really done every conceivable thing you can, and it's terrible what you've done. But we are now going to try to insult you by taking it in our stride. We're going to grieve the dead. We are going to try and make sure that hideous people like you can't do what you did again, but we're not going to let it ruin our lives. But that's the exact opposite of what America did. They said, we need to become a totalitarian state. We need to bring in surveillance. We need to do all these. We need to remove freedoms from everyday Americans.
Yeah.
Just to try and ensure that someone doesn't do a sneak attack on us and kill a relatively small number of us. You know, the cost-benefit analysis, I don't think was necessarily done back then, and you know, over 100,000 more Americans died in the pursuit of trying to defang terrorism. Good luck with that. You know, that's like trying to win the war against drugs. And over 1 million people in the Middle East died as a result of the ensuing fabulously expensive war. I think what I'd like we in the freedom community is to say, yeah, we're going to be deeply impacted by these hideous actions. We're going to be offended by it. We're going to feel a frisson of fear. We're going to wonder, are we at risk? And then we're going to realise, as you, I think, so rightly said before we came online, Michael, we're standing on a piece of rock that's hurtling through space at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, and the only guarantee we have is that our tiny lives are one day going to end. So if we existentialise our own individual existences to that and realise, as important as our lives are to us, in 100 years, they're going to be as good as nothing.
Yeah.
You know, even the most famous people are still dead after they're gone. They might be written about in history books more than you and I, and we won't know until death whether there is something after death. I mean, I choose to believe that there probably is something after death. But if we live as if this life we're given is finite, that it can never be risk-free, and that our obligation is to have a rich, full and meaningful life in spite of the adversity. That's the campfire I want us to build in the wilderness, Michael. I want us to be, you know, I don't want us to be uncaring. I don't want us to be callous about hideous things like Bondi and 9/11 and the dreadful things that have unfolded in the world. But I want us to be practical and rational and reasonable, and I want us to still be able to love and laugh and enjoy and to have friends and to take risks, and then one day be grieved. That's the best we can hope for. And there seems to be some, and I think it's a growing desire to have all of the risk removed from life.
Yes.
You know, I think there are people who want to. Now just reminded myself of something I wanted to say to you last time we spoke. You gave the lovely analogy of the caged birds watching the uncaged birds fly around the outside. Now that's a very powerful analogy, and it's an analogy that would encourage somebody to want to not be a caged bird. until the hawk arrives.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Can
now
he
the
fly
cage
faster?
birds are saying, well, that's if you can. But the reality is the hawk lives on other birds. It's, you know, it's a
Oh,
predator.
that's right. That's right. That's the freedom comes at a cost, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly the point. Now, if we allow this sort of emerging emotional terrorism to grip our hearts and our minds and to render us helpless in the face of some unlikely but possible danger, then we enter the cage. We sacrifice some of the potential meaning of our lives in the pursuit of something that's unachievable. We can't get everything we want. We can't be perfectly safe. So,
No, we
what are your
can't.
thoughts about all that, Michael?
Yeah, no, we can't be safe. It's really interesting. You know, it's that saying that someone said, "What are you going to do? Pussyfoot through life until you arrive at death safely." You can't do it. You have to
Yep.
live, and unfortunately, these things happen. We had it with the Lint Cafe. These things happen all around the world, and we can't see them coming. I mean, everyone's saying ASIO failed, but I've also read that from another ex-police officer who worked with them. They have loads of people on these watch lists, scores
Yep.
and scores and scores, and they probably don't have the manpower to do every one. It almost actually shows that with this mass surveillance that's coming out, it's not actually that good. If there's no conspiracy, everything's fine. If they've just screwed up, then it shows that maybe it's all talk. But I actually want to go. I cancelled Monday night show because I thought I
Yeah,
don't
I
want
know
to
that.
talk about this on Monday night. We got blood in the
Yep.
streets. The blood's not dried. I knew everyone would come on with conspiracy theories. I didn't want to hear it because we got all these dead people and injured people and people grieving. So that was the first time I'd taken the Monday off. But then I sat there at night. I was on Instagram and TikTok and I was watching the people talk. And what I found, which really lifted my spirits, was there was these men coming on, not women, men. There, and maybe the algorithm was feeding me. They were doing rants. There was men who were identifying as staunch Christians. There was men who were just identifying as Australians, and there was men who identify as Muslims, and they were all going, "Enough! We don't want this here. Not in our country." The Muslims as well. They were going, "Brother, you don't like that. You think there's something bad happening overseas. Well, you go over there and you fight it, but you don't bring the shit to Australia. This is a
Yep.
safe haven." And everyone was rational, and a lot of them were saying, "I've never done this before." And I thought, this is interesting. This incident is almost like there to spread hate. And here's these men who are the ones who are supposed to be the ones infected the most, and they're going, "No, mate, let's have peace, let's have love, safe haven." That really brought me up. And that made me go, okay, we can sit here and knock out conspiracy theories until we're old men, and we'll probably never know one way or the other, like Kennedy and like 9/11. And there is a lot of things that stink about all of these, like Charlie Kirk, a lot of things stink. But you can get infected by trying to figure out what's happening, and you're probably never going to know. It's like digging for opal on that opal field. You're sitting there in the darkness going, should I give up? I've been here for 3-4 years. Or am I just one shovel away from the find of my life? You know what I mean? And so to me, here we have a choice of what we're going to do. It's like hate's banging on your soul, going, "Let me in." You saw all the people. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You could be walking down the beach and suddenly they're shooting you. So let me in, and I'll get inside your soul. And that's what I feel they want. They want us to be full of hate. Hate my brother, hate my sister, just because they look different or have a different ideology or different religion. Just hate, hate, hate. And so I feel the way to go back is grieve. Absolutely grieve. It's shocking. It doesn't make any sense. Even get angry. Definitely get angry. How could you do it? How could you do it? You're a father. I understand if the young guy believed in all the virgin stuff, but you're an old man. Come on. Also, I can't believe you both truly believed. If you believe you have a God behind you, that a creator would go, "You know what I want you to do? I want you to kill the other people I've created." It doesn't make any sense. So to me, and there's things I can't fix, but what I can fix is my own soul. And I
Absolutely.
refuse to hate. I refuse to let them win. And I have to. The hardest thing of COVID, which has taken me 5 years, this last few years to really get hold of it, is to suddenly go, there is things I will never understand. We'll probably never have the facts, and we have to live in the rubble of these clues that we build theories upon. And but yeah, look, like say the shooting of Kennedy, none of us really know what happened. We just have great theories. Port Arthur massacre, great theories, and really great theories. But we haven't got Martin Bryant standing up and going, look, I really didn't do it. I don't know what they're talking about. I just went to get an ice cream. We don't have that, so I think it's a really interesting time to be alive again. But I despair that we have human beings on the planet, and I know there's death everywhere, but my favorite saying of all time is, I think it's Gandhi, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind.
Yes, you said that on one of your Facebook posts.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And we're looking at Israel and Palestine. That there's not enough blood there to quench their revenge. There's not enough. The hatred is just going to go on and on. They could literally fill the Holy Land with graves of their children, and they might still keep killing. The hate doesn't resolve itself. Eventually, it's the better things within us. It's love. We have to try love and tolerance. These are the things that we build a society that our children can flourish in.
And that's the campfire. That's the campfire that I want us and our viewers and the members of the. I don't see the comments.
He's a great mate. He's saying fucking ice creams. And hate is groovy. Hating your enemy is what you need to defeat them. No, Richard, you're full of shit, mate. You're just full of shit. You never hate anyone. You don't. So anyway, there's but let's continue. So that's and I don't pretend to be a really great scholar or anything like that, but I just know that makes sense to me. If I can go to the grave and I'm not infected by hate, it's not the filter I look at the world through, I think we're in I think I have a victory, small as it is.
Okay. This may be one of those moments where we explore a difference of opinion, Michael.
Yep.
I'm not quite so strong on the vilification of hate. I reserve the right to despise or hate someone's actions, but I want to separate their actions from the person and from the people that they arguably represent. So I don't want to find myself saying that I hate a particular category of people. What I'm arguably comfortable with is saying that I hate a particular category of behavior. So what those two men did at Bondi, I think that was a hateful, cowardly, despicable act, and I hate the behavior that they demonstrated.
Yeah.
What I then quite consciously try to do is feel some, particularly from my perspective, from my professional perspective, I want to try to develop some kind of compassion or pity or even insight into what would drive somebody that insane, that whatever emotional energy was coursing through them could only be expiated through the murder of other people. And those people represent a tragic misunderstanding, because if the meaning of life is that you achieve some form of religious or emotional fulfillment by killing someone that you disagree with or don't like, then we wouldn't have survived this long. We wouldn't have got through the last 2 or 3 million years as a surviving species. It's cooperation and collaboration and communication. All the things that make us the peculiar species that we are, and killing each other is an aberration wished upon us by people with ugly motives. And so
divide and conquer. It's theatre. Divide and conquer. They want us to hate. So
It's
if you start
it's
hating,
emotional.
you're
Michael,
obediently doing what they want you to do. I do
it's
hate
emotional terrorism.
coriander. Everyone's saying in the comments, I hate coriander. And I have to admit, I do hate coriander.
Well, I've never met coriander, so I don't know. I don't have an opinion on them. But I feel sorry for anyone whose name is coriander. So
Yeah.
I think coriander is a spice is it a spice or a herb? I've got no idea. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time for broccoli, but I don't hate it.
Oh, I like broccoli. Anyway, but
Yeah,
going this, but these are the things that they try to get us to do. It's quite clear now that somewhere someone is laughing, whether they were behind it, whether they're just like, say, even the government coming out, they want gun reform, and they're blaming us. They're going, "Oh, right wing extremists." This wasn't right wing extremists. No, this was some nut job Islamists. I'm sorry,
yeah,
but they were. They were saying Ali
yeah,
Akbar as they were shooting people. That's the issue there. It's not
yeah,
us, and yet the government won't even mention it. So
yeah.
there's all these things around it, but I just see that they want us to hate. That's what they want. They want us
Okay.
to hate. And I'm just to show
I think
you,
I'm
can I just show you an example? I reached
sure.
a
Yeah.
town called Graves End, I think it was. I never heard of it. Tiny little one-horse town,
So
Graves End.
Great End or Gravesend?
Graves End.
Okay.
So I met Graves End, and there's a woman there in the post office, and she's got a girl with her. I think she's like the NDSI carer for this girl, and this woman was just full of hate, just full of it. And she was going, "I'm telling all my kids, don't have kids. You can't bring kids into this world." I'm thinking, we've had world wars, we've had plagues, if those people had gone, "Oh, the plague, oh, I'm not going to have kids, this can't bring it," we wouldn't exist. The fact that we exist, even though people go, hate, like Richard goes, hate wrote history. Yeah, but love is the reason we survived. Because if we let the hate take over everything, we wouldn't be here. We'd be like the Klingons. We just would have wiped each other out. We
Mhm.
can't do it. And the first evidence of a civilization is, I think I've told you before, is a healed bone.
Yeah.
Cavemen, found a healed bone. They stayed with him for a few weeks. It's out of love. That's the first
Yep.
evidence of civilization. And these two work together. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep. So can I give you a real life example of an experience I had in meeting hate?
Sure.
I bought a business from a guy many years ago, and in many ways, he did the wrong thing. And so I very openly told all of the people in that particular network that this guy had dudded me in a number of ways. Now, he was 20 years younger than me, very well qualified karate exponent. And one day he turned up at the business, and he was really hostile. The veins were bulging on his forehead, and he said to me, "You've been telling people that I'm a crook." So he was looking for a fight. He was either looking for me to cower, and of course I can't fight my way out of a paper bag. So out of a wet paper bag at that. So my response to this guy was to seek clarification. As you know, I prefer asking questions than other reactions. And so I said to him, "Are you angry at me calling you a crook, or the fact that you're a crook?" And it momentarily disarmed him. And he said, "Well, you've been telling people that I've stolen stuff." I said, "Well, this and this," and I gave him all the details, and he would not be placated. If he'd have had a gun, he would have shot me. And finally, I said to him, "Look, I've tried to reason with you and be understanding and calm, but you're not buying it. So we've reached the end of this conversation. You're much younger, much stronger, much better fighter than me. So if you need to do physical harm to me, this is your moment. My staff will ring the police and the ambulance, and we'll both get on our lives. You'll be in jail and I'll be in hospital, and nothing will have changed. But this is the moment. You choose your path. You either attack me now or you get lost." And to my amazement, he just walked away.
Yeah.
Now I'm not ascribing any courage or nobility into my actions. It was just I had nothing else that I could come up with because I'm not a fighter. And this guy was a fighting machine. He was a unit. So I offer that as a tiny example of when hate does find its way into your heart. One of the most sincere, disarming elements to it is a genuine attempt to understand where the hatred comes from. It's kind of customer service 101. If you've got an angry person in front of you, if you genuinely try to understand the source of their anger, there's a 99% chance that their anger will evaporate and some reason and meaning will come out of the conversation. So I want to believe that the community that you and I speak to are the different thinkers. I don't want us to be the ones that are looking for revenge or retribution. Even though, I mean, one of my favourite genres of movies
better,
is
Richard.
retribution. Richard Wolstencroft. Yep. Hello, Richard. We've never met, but good to see you online, mate. Yeah, that's my favourite genre of movies, but it's because it's fantasy. It's because the old adage is when you seek revenge, ensure that you dig two graves, one for your enemy and one for yourself. And so I think if we as a community exercise the mental peculiarities that set us aside during the years that we coalesce together as a community, which is being genuinely doubtful of what we are being told that doesn't seem right, of being willing to ask meaningful questions, of not getting angry against individuals, getting angry against institutions. If they're the sort of things we bring to this kind of horrific thing that happened at Bondi on Sunday, if we bring that to the table, then it's possible that we might end up standing next to somebody in a shop and saying, I hope you don't mind, but do you mind me asking if you're a Muslim? In a non-confronting, non-threatening way. And if they say yes, say, can you help me understand what happened in Bondi? And then being silent. Now, my expectation is that the high 90-odd% of Muslims are not the rabid jihadists. I'd love to know if there's a Muslim word for anti-jihad, but I think the majority of them would say, that's not my religion. That's not how I believe the world should work. On behalf of my faith, I would like to apologise to the Australian community. They're the sort of things that I would like to see emerging here, rather than, trying to muddy the waters by conspiracy theories. Now, I'm not discounting the potential that somebody may have manufactured this dreadful thing in order to meet some other political or power or financial agenda that they might have been pursuing. So I'm not naysaying the conspiracy theorists. So I've been wrong on conspiracies many times, and you feel a bit of a fool when you suddenly realise that you believed the mainstream and it was a lie. But if we're just openly mindedly curious and compassionate and interested in the people that we're sharing our journey on this planet with, then we might be able to heal quicker from this dreadful experience.
I saw a thing in America once. There was a black guy, and he was living in the area where the Ku Klux Klan was, and he used to talk to them. He wasn't scared.
Oh, he wrote I've heard him interview Brett Weinstein interviewed him about a year ago.
That route. Even if I failed, I'd rather prefer to fail his route than just taking up arms and going, let's start fighting back. Because and that's
that guy's inspirational. I heard Brett Weinstein interview him, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever had because it was so unbelievable. But this guy ended up, he had the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan as his closest friend, and it culminated in the guy tearing up his Ku Klux Klan thing, not because he was asked to or anything, but he suddenly realised that all of these people that he was vilifying because of their inescapable skin colour, he suddenly realised that there were decent, wonderful, courageous, intelligent, stupid, assholes. They were just ordinary people, and so that's we've got to come closer there. Whoever is trying to destroy humanity or the planet or whatever it is their agendas are, if we as individual humans find ways to bond better with our other humans, then the bad guys will have no power. I had a vision, I'll speak it, but I'm concerned that some may take offence at it. I've got this image in my mind of those thousands of people at Bondi. If instead of running, they had just turned and begun to walk towards those two gunmen. Now, I don't know. I doubt it. I would have had the courage to do that. But I'm just imagining if philosophically that's what we do to whoever we think is trying to ruin our lives or humanity or our way of life or whatever, if we just quietly turn and walk towards them and just getting on with our lives, not ranting, not screaming, not trying to bring them down, just laughing at them, taking them in our stride, getting minor joys from the people we're sitting around the campfire with. If we can defuse them by not getting sucked into their emotional terrorism, they will almost certainly fail.
Yeah, there's like, look, I haven't experienced the hate with someone. Well, there's probably people who want to kill me. I remember when I was in hospital, the trolls were just basically, I think, celebrating that they're already dancing on my grave. They were overjoyed. I was actually trying to understand them. It was really interesting. It was really difficult. I was trying to talk to them like that black guy did, and but it was really interesting. They were just, I don't know if they were bots. I think some of them were humans, but the humans, they just were infected with hate. They could not escape it. Even now and again, they tried to. I actually pitied them because I thought, how do you get through life? That's all you do. You just look at life through these hateful bars and broken bits of glass in your eyes, looking through life. And this is not my path. I'm not telling everyone to do what I'm doing. This is just me. You know what I mean? There's been so many incidents happening just to me personally and then externally with the whole world. So I could have already given in and just been crippled by hate, unable to think anyway, hating someone just because they're black or they're Asian or they're Muslim and just hate them. And I've heard that all my life. Jews are another one. You hear people go, I hate the Jews. I mean, I've never met one, and never talked to one, or they've got a Jew sitting next to them they don't even know. There's two levels of hate. There's one that people say at the staff room, they haven't really thought about it. But this level of hate, a father and a son, I can't comprehend the father. I just can't. And I probably never will be able to. I'd like to. I often watch. Yeah, sorry.
I think I can get a sense of what it might be like. If I discovered that you had in some way viciously harmed my wife, Michael, I think I would discover my own capacity for hate, and I think I would happily meet my end trying to kill you. But that's incredibly personal and to some degree justifiable. Now, because we live in a civilized society, my right to that kind of vigilante justice has been legally removed from me. And that doesn't stop me doing it. It just means I'll be punished if I do it. So that means as a genuine member of a civilized society, I believe that if you did something dreadful to the woman that I love, I would expect society to come after you, and it would be society that would punish you. Now, in the absence of that, if society lets me down, now I might be willing to vent my murderous rage upon you and spend the rest of my life in prison as a result. But that's personal. This is not. This is a diffused hatred against people who are different. And that's about as that to me feels like the antithesis of any sort of religion that could call itself a decent religion. I cannot, and you alluded to this before we came online, neither of us can comprehend a God that would look upon you kindly because you killed another human just because they didn't think about God the same way as you did.
Exactly.
It makes
not that I need it's not a fear of God, though, that doesn't want me to kill anyone. I just don't want to do it. This all said, though, I have to admit, I've got a daughter and she hasn't been killed by anyone. I'm not trying to manifest that. So if I was tested to that degree, I don't know what I'd do because I haven't been there. It's like when COVID came out, all of us were tested. Some caved, some went this way, some went that way. You didn't know what you were going to until you were tested,
Yep.
and so so I really can say to now, I'm not hating, but I pity. Really feel for the people who are killed, especially the young girl, the parents of that. There's videos of a girl going around just being a little young girl, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't. I just cannot comprehend that amount of hate. And so this is
Yep.
why I choose not to hate, but it hasn't happened to me yet. And so chances are, if they did that to me, maybe I would change. I don't know.
Mm.
But that's the battle I think we have.
I agree. Yep. I think uh, if anything's going to save us from resorting to some animalistic response to any injury that we receive or perceive,
Yeah.
we have to reflect on what it means to be human. I mean, I have not heard of any examples in the animal kingdom where if the mountain lion comes after my goat family and kills one of the baby goats in my goat family, I don't think there are examples in nature where the herd or the group rallies against the attacker to protect a member of the group.
Yeah.
But once that member of the group has been predated, once the predator has actually taken the weakest or the slowest or the youngest and eaten it, the rest of that group doesn't go around looking for another mountain lion to kill to make it, to get back for the baby animal. It's we complex humans that invest legitimate connection with other humans that we're connected to, and then we feel this sense of rage when someone arbitrarily removes that loved one from us. I think we need to think, is that what we want our species to be? Do we want to be a vengeful, get revenge at all costs kind of a species? Or do we want to be the species that's, wow, a couple of madmen got an insane idea to do an unbelievably dreadful thing, and we need to do our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. But it doesn't mean we have to look at all people that look like or subscribe to the same religion or live in the same suburb as those guys. We can't just assume that they're all going to be the same. We have to let people be people. And the risk is some people are going to be horrible to us. Some people are going to take advantage of us. Some people are going to treat us badly. Some people are going to kill us. But we have to, as humans, conceive of a different way to deal with tragedy and adversity, because we can't just be uncaring animals. We can't just shrug off the loss of a murdered 10-year-old child. There's got to be social and psychological wounds from that. But we have to generate ways to manage those wounds so that they don't make us ugly and crippled and vengeful as a result. Otherwise, it is emotional terrorism, I think.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, look what's happening in England at the moment. We'd be already, you and I would already be in jail probably for tonight's conversation.
Yep.
The bringing in mass migration. I heard that even the King, Prince William, said something in front of Keir Starmer saying that things aren't equal anymore. They've got all these new migrants who are army-aged men, not families, put up in 4 and 5 4-star hotels, and the veterans, the living veterans who fought, are in housing commission flats or homeless. So there seems to be around the world, especially in Canada, here, America too, there's a great stoking of hate. I really believe they're trying to bring it on. They're trying to make us hate each other. So maybe there's other things they can do. Where I don't know how it all works. I really don't. But what I can see is I've seen this film before. I know the script, and I can feel where it goes. And that's why I love the fact Monday night, or the night after that I took off, where I was watching social media, I expected to just see, oh, it's Mossad, oh, it's the Jews, oh, it's the Muslims, oh, it's this, hate, 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 hate. And it was such a joy to see so many men going the opposite way. And I remember when I came across a closest form of hate, which was at the shrine, you got all these soldiers in front of you, or these army and these police officers all in the black in this, and they beat the shit out of us because they were really angry with us. But I remember everyone in all the marches, everyone was going, no violence, don't do any violence. Just everyone got it. None of us planned it, but we could see it. We were waiting for people to get violent with us. They were literally shaking to be violent with us, and we refused to do it back. So we just got beaten up. But I'm telling you now, 5 years later, even though I talk about it and bring it up, I'm not infected by it. I don't have PTSD from it. I've spoken about it. I get it out. I think a healthy portion of the ones that shot Australians will never talk about it because they're so full of shame and guilt. And I think the cops would have left. And we've even had one of them reach out to us, talking to us, asking if we can do things. And so he's racked with guilt. You know what I mean?
And that's okay. That's awesome. Well, it's not awesome. It's terrible, but it's convenient. That one of the things that I kind of softly thought about that you and I might discover is the phenomenon of what's called moral injury. And that example you just gave of the policeman is somebody who, and the definition of moral injury, very, very roughly, if you Google it, you'll find a much more accurate definition. But it's when a person, by their action or inaction, is required to act in contravention of their morals. And that policeman example you just demonstrated is somebody who got swept away with the power of command and the power of the moment and the groupthink and all the things that led to. I mean, there's got to be a small number of police that are pathological and who would have enthusiastically engaged in those things, and they sleep like babies now. They, but they're the dross of society. They're not the ones we're talking about. But there was literally an army of police who carried out immoral orders, even though it's written into the legislation that people in the armed forces or the policing forces have got an obligation to disobey immoral or illegal orders. These people got carried away and did what they were told and momentarily thought was right. And now they've suffered this moral injury and they're carrying the scars of their action or inaction having been contrary to their values or their morals. And it's a terrible burden. And the fact that you've got an example of one of those police trying to expiate that moral burden by atoning through acts of service to the community that he so abused in his position as a police officer, they're the sort of people that we need to be welcoming to our campfire. I would much rather somebody make a terrible mistake and at some point realise they've made that terrible mistake and then go about the rest of their life trying to rectify it or atone for it or make sure they never do it again. That person's got my vote every time. I don't expect or want everyone to be right 100% of the time. But what we're seeing at the moment with the echo chambers and the siloing and the othering and the cancelling and the propaganda, what we're seeing is people having their own arguably incorrect views being consolidated and amplified, and all they've got left to do is double down on it. Now, those people are the sort of people that pick up a gun and try and kill somebody just because they're of a different religion. And so somehow our campfire needs to embrace the John Campbells of the world, where they realised mid-stride that they were marching in the wrong direction and they stumbled, and then they picked themselves up and started marching in a completely different direction, even though it cost them to do that. We need to be those people and find those people and embrace them.
Yeah, well, that's a choice. I just want to bring up something here about hate. See,
I think that was a rant, by the way, Michael.
No, that's great, man. Helen Beaver. I haven't met one good Muslim. Well, Helen Beaver, you should get out.
Haven't met enough yet.
Yeah, there's and because Brad here, I'm just plugging in my computer. Hold on. Brad in the next comment. Sorry, we're a bit late. We got here late setting it up and make sure my computer doesn't die. Okay, sorry about that. But Brad here, g'day, Brad, mate. I live in Western Sydney. We all get along most of the time. I've worked in jobs. I've worked with Muslims. I actually always interested in talking to people from different religions, Hindus and everything. It's interesting to find out from different people's point of view. And another thing too is what I find interesting is one thing I get all the time is people come up to me and they go, "Oh, Michael, I love what you do, but your only problem, you haven't found Jesus. You got to find Jesus." And now, so when I say things like, "I don't think we should hate," which is something that Jesus would say, people go, "Oh, wake up, wake up. You got to find Jesus. You got to wake up." So no offense, what the fuck are you talking on about? We have the man who is basically the architect of Western civilization, who told us not to hate each other. Don't throw stone. This is it. Whoever's without sin cast the first stone. This isn't a whole religion that killed people at Bondi. This was two idiots, two effed up people that we can't understand. And if you think it's a whole religion, then congratulations. Those who are trying to divide us have won. They've conquered you. You're doing their bidding. There's no difference between you and the people that are doing the self-serve, destroying their kids' jobs and not standing up to the corporation going, no, put our kids back on the tills and give us some jobs. There's no difference. They're giving you a script and you're playing along and you think you have power. You don't. If you're hating because you've been told to hate, then that's it. You've got to think for yourself. They have images of this kid trying to hand out religious stuff in some street a few years ago, and now he's shooting people in the streets. There's something wrong with him. It's not normal for people just to go shoot people, and we're never going to understand it. And it's like I love one of my things I love watching, because I'm a script writer, is I love watching police detectives break down killers when they do the interviews. And you see these people, but never, ever do they actually come forward with the reason why I did it. Why did you kill your dad? Oh, I don't know. They never actually give a confession that makes a lick of sense. Ever. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what we have to live with. We have to live with the fact we don't know the answers. When people do things we can't comprehend, unfortunately, a lot of the time, you have to live with the fact that you will never comprehend it. You just have to decide what you're going to do with the grief and the anger that comes from it. You're going to let it infect you, or you're just going to go, well, that's just a part of being alive.
I don't know how many people will remember the phenomenon of the 1960s and 70s in the United States called busing. And it was an attempt to break the racial hatreds in the deep south of America, where they had enclaves of only white communities. And they required the schools to take in students of color. And so they literally brought in busloads of students of color. And they needed the National Guard to protect these students. There were grown white women spitting at these children as they walked into what were previously white-only schools. And what that did, for a brief period in American history, was that it rendered the majority of the country colorblind, because this army of young black children went into these sanctified white communities, and the white people suddenly realized they're just people. There's a gorgeous little clip on YouTube of these two little boys, and they've gone to the hairdressers and got their hair cut exactly the same way. And the little boy is talking to his mum, who's taking the shot, and he said, "Bobby and I got our hair cut the same so people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. One of them was white and one of them was black."
Yeah, that's right.
It was just so gorgeous. They just had no idea that there was any difference between, and they thought getting their hair cut the same way would mean they'd look like twins. It was just so exquisite. And that's the reality. The only things that differ are our minds and our hearts. Our physiology, our skin color, all that sort of stuff is of no consequence. But when we start to kid ourselves that we know everything, that everything we know is right, and that everything we know is based on fact, which, by the way, is a fondly held belief of mine that populates most people's subconscious minds. I think most people operate without knowing it on the belief that they know everything they know is right, and everything they know is fact. If we can break that nexus, then a degree of humility will start to creep into us as a species. And instead of killing you because you disagree with me, I will embrace you to learn what you know differently to me, because one of us has got to be wrong. And if I have to prove I'm right by killing you, what does that say about the depth of commitment I've got on my beliefs?
Yeah.
If I,
Yeah, 100%.
you know, I
mean,
honestly believe.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
As in my very early 20s, I joined the Junior Chamber of Commerce and became a debater. And the thing that messed with my head as a debater was that you didn't get to choose which side of the argument you debated. It was arbitrarily given to you. So, you know, for example, they'd say the subject is the death penalty and you've got to argue for it and you've got to argue against it. And it doesn't matter what you actually feel. You've got to develop an argument to try and win, even if you disagree with it. Now, I want people to stop having arguments, to say to people they disagree with, let me tell you what I understand about your side of the argument. And you tell me where I've got it wrong. Because if I've got it right, you're an idiot. And I don't think you're an idiot. So that means I don't understand. So here's what I understand about your argument, A, B, and C. And you go, whoa, you didn't think, did it occur to you to think of F, G, and H? What's F, G, and H? Now I've learned something and I may change my belief. But it's this rigid fanaticism that resulted in this dreadful thing on Sunday. What allows the powers that be to divide and conquer and to use emotional terrorism to keep us docile. It's just, it's awful. I want us to change.
Can I tell you, a lot of people say, I had Adrian from up north, I can't remember his second name. He's the one that started, anyway, he was on the council up there. And he's very popular in the movement. And he said, we don't have a vision. We don't have a vision. And I tell you what I see as a vision. Like even here, see, look, Sigley there. Sorry, Kel. You know, you bloody fools. It's not even two gunmen, Muslim against some bad Jews, making look that way. I love Jews. Anyone good to... You actually don't know that, Sigley. You think that, you believe that, but you don't fucking know it. And the filter of your hate is gone, that you just ticks your hate. And that's, you're infected by hate, brother. No offense. But anyways, but moving on, I was on this tram. I used to do late night trams. And because I get away with all the mistakes. Anyway, one night I think there was 4 couples on my tram, 4 or 5, dispersed through it, all mixed race, white and Asian, white and Indian, Indian and Asian, African. And they were all together, and they were in love, all heterosexual couples, all in love. And I know heterosexual couples are looked down upon now, but you see everything around, every single thing, from a mobile phone to your toilet. If it wasn't for heterosexuals, you wouldn't have any of it, because we bred the people that made them. So basically, you owe it all to us. So anyway, these 5 couples are on the tram. And I was sitting there watching them as I was driving along, thinking, at some point in the future, if we cannot kill each other, these interraces are going to breed. And in 200 years, even, we're going to have a new Australian mixed with so many other different races. They'll be super strong because they'll take all the great things. I used to joke, you know, I used to say,
evolutionary imperative.
They'll have the mathematical genius of a Chinese Asian culture. You know what I mean? Yep. They'll have the whatever the white thing comes to it. You know, the whatever we bring to it. We're pretty powerful. You know, we make things happen.
Yeah, we bring the barbecue, mate.
Yeah. He'd have the strength and maybe the schlong of an African guy. Wouldn't we all like that? You know what I mean? This is a really thing we can sell to the world. But I'm laughing and joking, and maybe he's got the demeanor of an Indian. No, he's very polite, gets on with everybody. Who knows? But the thing is, it's all these qualities coming together, and that's in our future. And you could see that. And I was thinking, if these people can be left alone, they don't want to kill each other. They want to make families. They want to create. They want to build. There's only a certain percentage of us who want to burn the world down. Unfortunately, they've got access to weapons and stuff like this. And there's other nefarious things going on, which we can't control. But in the little bit we can control, and this is what I go on about, in the bit we can control, we have one choice. Do we go to the grave broken and bitter? Or do we go, F you, man, I got through. whatever you hated me, I don't care how much you hated me. And I've never had as much hate at me as the last 5 years. I'm from the trolls. Unprecedented. It's just mind-blowing hate, you know?
Wow.
And they come up to me and they say, "You're always spreading hate." Someone said it just today. "How can you say that? All you do is spread hate." I said, "Can you please give me an example?" Of course, I never
Good
heard
for
back.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just want an example and I'll deal with it. But
Yep.
they can't. One guy at the hospital, I remember he came in and said, "You've been hating on these and this." I said, "Well, give me an example." And then he came back and goes, "You must have taken them all down." I said, "Oh yeah, I probably did that when I was having the heart operation because I had nothing to do but go through my Facebook thing and take all the hate things down while I'm having my heart ripped out of my chest." So it's madness. It's madness. And you're capable as a human being of going to the tell me if this is true. See, there's a line between us here, between our squares. Now say that's neutral. And if you come my way, you go to hate, which has no end. You can hate right the way until basically you're genociding a population or even further or burning the whole world down. There's no end to hate. And the other way is going to love. Now, I think most people go back and bid and forth. That sometimes they get up, they hate the this and they hate the red lights and stuff like that. I've had that. And other times they're more loving, they got a day off, things are going good. That's where we are. But some of us go down the journey of hate, down that hole. And I think the further you go down, the harder it is to get back. But it's a choice. It's a choice. And I know it's a choice because I remember watching this father in America. His daughter had been killed. And I was watching on this YouTube video, and they were astonished because he got up in court. He got to talk to the killer. And the killer did it for no reason. It was just a thrill kill.
Yeah. Yep.
And he forgave him. And I was so interested. How could he do it? But he said, "I'm not taking your hate with me. You've lost
Yep.
my daughter. I'm taking the grief. I'm taking this, but I'm not taking your hate. You have to
Yep.
answer to God for that." And I thought, wow, you know what I mean? So to me, that's my choice as a human being living this miraculous experience. That's the way I'm deciding to go after everything I've been through. And I've got more than reason to hate the world, but I refuse. I feel privileged to be alive, regardless.
Can I respond? Can I respond to
Yeah,
that, Michael? Okay. In many ways, I think you've nailed it. However, I think there is an important nuance when you talk about people's ability to choose which path they're going to go down. I genuinely believe that choice is an extremely difficult thing to do.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And I would really be very uncomfortable if we made it look like a trivial, easy. All you got to do is choose.
I totally
That's
agree.
like saying to the drug addict, all you've got to do is choose to stop using the drugs.
Yeah,
There is an element of rational sense to that, but
yeah,
that overlooks the fact that almost all of the things that we humans do are based on spontaneous subconscious programming.
yeah,
So the people who are seduced into the hate end of the spectrum, it's almost never a result of them making a choice. It's the equivalent of emotional terrorism that has impacted upon them. Like the fact that this was a father and son is not that surprising to me, because the old adage, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Back in the pre-industrial days where most families lived on farms, the only male role models that young men would get to see were their fathers. And if they had a decent, loving, compassionate, hardworking father, the probability is that they would grow up to be decent, hardworking, loving men. But if you're in a cloistered community, which I suspect these two guys from Bondi may well have been in, they were in an echo chamber that puts ours to shame. I think if you're raised in that environment, then you don't have a choice, because it's like being in a cult. If you disagree with the cult or the cult leader, they do the worst thing that can happen to a human. they throw you out. Now,
Yeah.
what happens? Almost every person who either leaves or is thrown out of a cult, for example, they suddenly realize there's a whole big wide world of people who will not judge them, who will not vilify them, who will accept them and employ them and marry them and live next door to them. And they think, wow, this is not what I saw on the shadow. You know the allegory of Plato's cave, don't you? I'm sorry, that was a big assumption. I've only come across it in the last couple of years.
No,
Plato wrote.
Yeah.
Plato wrote in his one of his major works.
Can I just see it's the same? That's about sitting in a cave and there is images being displayed on a wall from a fire or shadows or something, and they're seeing the world for that.
It's the shadows of the people from the outside world that are visible inside the cave. And so the people who've only ever known the shadows on the wall, that's what they believe the outside world to be like, and they're fearful of them because they're unknown and amorphous and all the rest of it. So that's so if you're raised with very limited exposure, if you're raised in a silo or a thought bubble, then the idea of making a choice to not go along with the mores of that that group of people that you're seeing as role models, making that decision not to be radicalized is almost impossible to imagine for a human to do. We've talked about the Ash experiments and the Milgram experiments and the Stanford prison and those sort of things. The group pressure is an anthropological phenomenon. Cavemen survived because they went along with the group pressure. Pressure. If you decided not to go and hunt wildebeest today, then the group pressure would see you ostracized from the group and you were a dead caveman.
Yeah.
So this is hardwired into all of our brains. And so I honestly believe that this metaphor that you and I are hopefully presenting of making rational thought and inviting people to make intentional decisions and being self-deterministic rather than being programmed by their environment. If that's the campfire that we nurture and sit around and have fun around and disagree about and get angry with each other and then forgive each other, if that's where we and our tribe ends up, then we're going to start attracting people, and it won't be an echo chamber. It won't be some bullying mentality. You must be like us or you've got to leave the campfire. It's going to be, wow, you've got a different set of views here. Let's see what those views feel like.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, let's say another way. What I said about that vision of the lovers on the trams that could have led to a new Australian. The other example we have is there's a lot of ancient cultures, like, say, Rwanda or some of the African countries, because there's been it's not Rwanda, what's the Congo? You know, these are ancient cultures, and they're still killing each other. And I look at Israel and say Palestine or this. I sometimes think, could you actually... would it be possible to go back to the first killing? Was it one child was killed, so they killed their child, and they killed their child? It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's, to me, we're a new country. We're a few hundred years old, you know, and there's been all different races coming here, and there's new races coming now. We are a melting pot of the world at the moment. Some people don't like it, multicultures, and they hate it, whatever, but this is what we are. And we have a choice now of going, okay, you know, these guys have come and they've killed us, so let's go kill them. And then their brothers will go, oh, well, let's kill, and then bang, bang, bang. And how does that end? How does it end? Show me a country where that's resolved into being a place where people want to go, people want to live.
Mm-hmm.
I think leaving something to our kids is finding a way to live despite our differences.
Coexist.
Yeah, you know, I've worked with Muslims in various things all my life. I've never had a Muslim shove his religion down my throat. I've never had one trying to convert me, but I've had Jehovah's at my door. I've had Mormons at my door. I've had other people, like I said, in the street who just constantly this. It's annoying. You know, they're pushing it down my throat. So I'm not saying anything is bad, but I'm saying, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm saying I just feel we have a choice as a community. How do we go forward? Do we leave our children and our grandchildren a country that's just constantly hating each other and they're born into that hate and they participate? or do we live something where we raised above it? And yes, they might try to kill a few of us, and it's horrible in this, but we don't let them defeat us. We don't let them infect us with their incurable hate.
Okay. My interjection there was there's got to be a reasonable proviso in that wonderful kumbaya world where we just get along with each other and we accept that we're going to be coffee-colored people eventually, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm alluding to the 1980s song "Coffee." What the world is. The world's a great big melting pot. I don't know whether you remember that song, but the only reservation I have about it is that such a society, a loving society, is a potentially vulnerable society. That there has to be, and this is one of the things I like about Jordan Peterson. His argument is that a weak person is not a strong person. Sorry, a weak person is not a good person. A weak person is a helpless person. That means they have to be good. A good person is a person who is not weak and who can defend themselves if necessary with force as a last resort. So I commend your utopian idea of us coexisting and loving, and I think that's wonderful. But we've also got to be able to protect ourselves if someone wants to come in and take us by force and make us all speak their language and wear their clothing and whatever thing they're trying to. The John Wayne attitude towards homosexuality, were really, I loved it years ago, was he said, "I don't care what they do as long as they don't make it compulsory." Now that's what I feel about everything in society. That I don't care if my neighbour is Christian or Jewish or Baha'i or Muslim or atheist. I don't care, as long as they're not kicking my front door in, trying to force me to adhere to whatever they believe in.
So the perfect example is the snake charmers in America. The Christian snake charmers. They hand rattlesnakes up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're Christians, and I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to join them, but they want to do that, man. It's their time on the planet. They're adults. You want to get bitten by a snake, knock yourself out. But they don't hurt anyone else. They just hurt themselves.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so the other thing about religion, though, it's power. There's always religions fighting for power. Organized religion is just about power and greed and wealth and power. These are the real things stirring below us, and everyone says, because I'm not saying, look, to me, if there'd been more guns on the thing and they could have taken them out, I really wish maybe there's some security guards or someone. If there'd been more guns in Bondi Beach, they would have taken them out, and I would have been quite happy if they did. I'm not saying if somebody had. Well, they went there. They took the guns. They went there, and they got shot because some good men, and were there with guns, and they defended them. I had no problem with that. You know what I mean? I might have even had a crack if I was there and I had a gun. I might have even had a crack. Who don't know? Because it was quite clear they weren't going to listen to anything. You could see that they were there to kill, and so I don't think it's a perfect world, but I do think there is the society benefits more when people are allowed to breathe and be themselves in this. I could be wrong, but or maybe it's something we have to aspire to. I mean, you're a child, so you've got 10 years on me. You remember the 60s. And in the 60s, we look back at the hippies, but it was also the Vietnam War. There was people getting shot in campuses by American soldiers. Our world America always seems to be trying to tear itself apart, and yet it still holds together this beacon of freedom. If I had a choice to live anywhere else, it would be America. As long as I had the money, I wasn't living on the streets. But I'd like to know what it's like where people defend their freedom. When they go to the cops, I know my rights. I'd like to live with that. You know what I mean? It's rather than a country like, say, North Korea, where I just stay silent all the time and I'm terrified of everything, and I only speak to the very few people. And what's the point of speaking to them? They know the same shit. You're just basically silent. So nothing's ever perfect. But I do feel, and I've lost a lot of, even in the movement, a lot of people think this is the funniest thing. Oh my God, you're gonna love this. So I've had about 3 people in the last few weeks who go to me and they go, well, I like you. I really like you. I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, sorry? So there's a lot of people that don't like me in the movement. I actually feel like a fringe dweller in the movement as well. And so there's some that do that, some that don't, but I don't care. Literally at the moment here, there's me, there's Kel, there's the ones that are really close to me. I just want to grow. I just want to grow. I want to reach the end and go, listen, I went there. You gave me all these senses, a brain, a heart. I screwed up on all these things, but this is what I discovered. That's why I say with plays, do you know, I'd seen one play before I made it as a playwright, one amateur play. I'd read 2 plays, Death of a Salesman and Streetcar Named Desire. And I didn't want to read them because I wanted to experience like I was the first person ever to write one. I didn't want to, and when I turn up at the theater, people go, oh, you're not following the rules. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it. I said, if I knew what to do and I followed rules, I'd be working in a bank, not sitting here trying to get this story up. And so that's just my choice, though. I'm a bit stubborn like that. I want to feel like I'm discovering these things for the first time. Like it's a privilege to be alive, but that's just my own choice. That's why at the moment my life is like this morning we woke up, we were on this farm stay, and because it was cheap, it's $25 for the night. And when we opened when we took down the flag at the back, it's all mist. And then Kel went to the toilet. There's deer there. There's this, and it's just. It's like waking up in a prayer, and the prayer is the beauty of the world, whether it's created by God, whether it's just an accident. But here we are, and then I met this man, this old man. This is what I love meeting this old man. He goes, "We're all minerals, We're all." He was 90 years old. I met him today. He's a gardener. He wanted to talk about these gardening things, but he's going blind. But he says, we're all minerals. Don't listen to them. We're all minerals. He goes, you see the view over there, see the trees, you see this. Yeah. Well, all of that's in us. We just need, and I love this old guy. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but I loved his passion at his age and the way he's doing it. And that's what he's going to the next stage with. If there's someone there to wait and go, okay, what's your report? Like your report would be interesting. You get to the other life and go, Lindsay, we have a few angels over here that are just going to take your report of what you thought of life. You know what I mean? And sit down and your thoughts. And maybe they're looking for something new. This is why I tell people I don't think perfection exists, because perfection is an end. You don't travel any further because you're perfect, and everything grows, everything moves forward, everything dies, comes back, comes one, which means theoretically God is imperfect. And everyone will go, but that's how it is. And so maybe the beauty of imperfection is that it's a perfect way to live, because you've got choices, and that's your freedom. You want to be compliant to the government and do everything they say, and they say jump, go jump. Your choice. And if you want actually, and what's his name? The Prime Minister at the time, that man who, Scott Morrison, he said it was a choice. And the reason people hated that so much, he was right. They put a lot of coercion, a lot of blackmail, but in the end, it was your choice. And I thought that was genius in quite a despicable way. But that's what I've learned. It's choice. I have a choice. I can be embittered. I can hate myself for the things I've done. I can go through the journey to try to forgive myself, to try to see if I can bring back to something to the society of worth. And that's because what I know about the soul is it's built for redemption. It has an enormous capacity for redemption. And the first person you have to forgive is yourself.
There's a... Okay, again, I'm going to take nuanced exception to that last bit. What you just said resonates, but makes me very uncomfortable, because in a joking way, I say that I try to live my life according to the Jesuit principle, which is that I do what I think is right, and if it turns out to be wrong, I seek forgiveness. Now,
Yep.
That's okay as long as you are doing your best to do the thing that you believe is the most right thing to do. Now, the offer of redemption, I think, has been monitorized by the Catholic Church to say it doesn't really matter what your were or what your rationale was or how frequently you've sinned. We will give you redemption as long as you're a member of the Catholic Church. Now that's my only proviso on redemption. I think you can only get redemption once per sin. That you commented earlier about let he who is he said when Jesus said let he who is without sin cast the first stone, and so no one could cast a stone because they weren't sinners. Do you remember what he then said to the adulteress before he let her walk away? He said, now go and sin no more.
That's hard.
I
Adam,
agree.
I just want just Adam here. Adam is saying who is second because I said first thing is yourself. Adam, I haven't got that far, but I don't have any animosity towards other people. I literally don't. I have no animosity towards anyone. And Hoodie said the same to me. He said he's got no hate in him either, even though he cops tons. But I haven't actually got there yet. But sorry,
Okay,
go ahead.
This is well, that what you're just talking about, I think, is in strong parallel with the moment that I'm in, at least in this conversation. I do hold rancor to people who repeatedly exhibit the same sin towards me. So if somebody is repeatedly lying to me, I will, the moment I realize they're lying to me. Now I'm an easy person to lie to because it's one of my philosophies is that I assume good intent in other people. And I want to believe that that's positive projection. That's me saying, if I was them, I wouldn't lie to me. But the moment they demonstrate that they're capable and willing of lying to me, that's the bottom line. I will bring it to their attention. Wow, you just lied to me to your own benefit. Is this, is that going to be the only time you ever do it to me? Oh, absolutely, Lindsay. Okay, fine. Well, I'll allow you the redemption for that one sin that I've noticed of you being deceitful towards me. But if they do it the second time, that's a capital offence. That's the death of that relationship. So, and this is what I'm talking about, where I get a little bit uncomfortable with offering redemption. I believe redemption should only be offered once per sin. That if you go back to the same well again and again and again,
you're going. I meant redemption for yourself. It's a personal thing. I don't think redemption from someone else, or if someone else forgives you, that is enormous. And it rarely doesn't happen. They forgive, people don't. Often what happens in society is people will say they forgive you, but they'll hold it there like a Scud missile. And there'll be some argument maybe a year later, and out it'll come as fresh as a daisy.
Yeah.
I meant just for yourself. For myself.
Okay, we're talking at odds here. You're talking about people carrying a grudge from a single misdemeanor. So if I've sinned against Michael in 2005, then here we are in 2025, and Michael still sits waiting for a job. Oh, don't forget what you did to me in 2005. That's not redemption. That's not Michael forgiving me. But if the thing that I did to Michael in 2005, if I do it again in 2006, and then again in 2008, and again in 2011, and I keep doing it, that makes Michael an idiot for continuing to do it. That makes Michael stupid and vulnerable. So I think we need to be cautious and talk about forgiving yourself. If I'm a rapist and I forgive myself every time I rape someone, it was because she wore a plunging neckline. It wasn't my fault. I forgive myself.
Oh no,
it's because she was out.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really good valid point. I've come to forgive myself for a lot of things. There's a lot of demons in me. There's a lot of car wreckages behind me, but it takes time, a lot of time. There's my first wife. We had a lovely house, white picket fence, everything, but I couldn't take it. I wanted to be free. I just didn't. It was like, okay, Michael, you can stay here now for the rest of your life, grow fat, and I couldn't do it. So I left her everything. But I remember one of the last times she saw me, she said she'd never been hurt so hard, and I have to live with that, you know? But it took a long time. I felt a lot of guilt for a long time, but the guilt suddenly it's like a payment plan. You suddenly reach some point, you're closing a gate or something happens and you're going, "Okay, yep, you've moved on. I'm sorry I did it." And there's
And that,
other
but that was a
demons in
one.
you too.
But that was a
Oh, no,
singular transgression, Michael.
no, it's not.
Michael, that was no. That example you're giving, I would categorize as you unwittingly committing an ongoing sin of betraying your own nature and your character and trying to sacrifice yourself for the sanctity of the marriage and the child and all those sort of things. But you eventually got to a realization. You suddenly had that realization, to use the vernacular of sin. You suddenly thought, "Oh my God, I'm living a sin or I'm living a lie." And then you did something about it. And then you've been attempting to forgive yourself and atone for it. I don't think I've ever heard you tell me that you've committed that sin repeatedly.
Oh, well, I'm not generally very good in relationships. I don't generally have affairs. I was polyamorous for a period at the end of one relationship. But we were just trying to see whether we could keep it going. It didn't work. But yeah, it's like life experience. So, like, I haven't murdered anybody. There's I don't know how that would be but I think it's very interesting when you see murderers being interviewed in jail. Some of them don't admit to it, but others do. They've been there 20, 30 years and they have changed. They were an idiot when they were young, going through
Yep.
crazy, and that's what I find interesting from life, especially from a playwright point of view, because I used to say to people, nothing's black and white. It's so complicated. And trying to, I sometimes wonder if there is any truths. Like maybe you grow up with a mother who's got a real attitude towards sex and nothing bad happened to her. But maybe her grandmother or her great grandmother was brutally raped and she hated sex and she pushed it onto the mother and so you're trying to fix a problem that's not even your problem. It's
I totally
generations
agree.
ago and you're not ever going to fix it. And at some point you have to find other ways to grow, and not because
Michael,
you're going to go to heaven. I'm just interested in growing. I'm just interested in that way.
Coming back to your example of the marriage and the white picket fence that you walked away from. That's an example of self-determination in the face of all odds. That you recognize that life it had its attractions, but it was contrary to your makeup. Now, once you realized that was the situation, you demonstrated self-determinism, and you said, I know there's going to be fallout for everybody concerned here, but I have to follow a different path. Now, that's taking responsibility, and I'm not saying whether what you did was right or wrong. It was what you did because you believed what you were doing was wrong. And so you did something that was hopefully a little bit closer to right for you. And I agree with you. There's no absolute truth. There's no absolute right or wrong. But I think we're the only animal on earth that can try to climb that mountain of truth and right and wrong and get closer and closer to the top, but never reach it. And, we don't live long enough to reach it. And that's where the idea of self-forgiveness comes in. But it bothers me that there are personality types out there who think that forgiveness is a commodity, that you can continue committing the same sin, you can keep doing the same wrong thing, you can keep telling lies, and all you've got to do is say, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and then everything's okay. Well, no, that's a voucher you get to use once for that particular sin. I think we all come with a big back pocket full of vouchers. This voucher entitles you for one forgiveness for lying, one forgiveness for infidelity, one forgiveness for church, for not telling the store owner that they've given you too much change. All of these little tiny moments of truth in life, but because so very few humans are self-deterministic, because their lives are determined by what other people tell them they need to do and think and say and feel, well, it's okay. I've got away with it again. I've got away with it again. I've got away with it again. That becomes the subconscious mantra. There's no hope for those people. And
Do you know what?
when
Oh, sorry, go
hang
ahead.
on, when they get to the pearly gate, you and I are both talking about if there's something after death. We're going to have you and I are each going to have very interesting reviews when we're sitting in front of a panel of angels. Those people who casually live a deterministic life and compromise their morals again and again and again and again, they're going to have a very uncomfortable time. That's going to be a bit of an interesting experience to sit and watch some of those interviews.
Yeah. Do you know another tragedy of life, which is often the lessons you learn from one thing, you don't realize you've learned the lesson until years later, where the person you hurt isn't even there, and you make a different decision.
Yep.
And then you think, I learned that, but the person who went through pain, because my first wife did nothing to me at all. She was gorgeous. She was this. She just wanted, it's just like she wanted this and I didn't. And 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 so you don't like hurting people. And most people don't like hurting people, especially the people they love. This is why it's very hard to let go and move on, even though you have to do it. And so it was really, it's times like that. I remember even this, I'll tell you something profound. It's when I don't know if I've told you this, when my son was born. So I had a grandfather that we have no photograph of. Now, he was born to a single mother who kept him, and she married some other guy. This is very vague. We know hardly snippets, but she died of the consumption when he was 10. And according to my father, he was sent to live on a farm, basically like a farmhand come slave. He worked there for food.
Yeah.
He slept in the barn. Then he
Yep.
was sent to the slate mines, and then he was sent to World War One, and then he came back. And he came back as this alcoholic, and then he married my. There is a point to this. I just need a few minutes. Then he married my grandmother, who I did meet, and they had 13 or 14 kids, and my father is the last. Now, at one point, this man who had basically been disowned by life, he had every reason to hate life. He was sitting downstairs as upstairs my grandmother was having her first child cut out of her by the doctor. And the doctor came down and said, um, she'll never have any other kids. And he had to sort of deal with that downstairs. So he had all these pressures to deal with, and alcohol, and being an alcoholic was one of them. When he died, my father said he didn't give a shit. He was laying on the kitchen table dying, and my father was 14. He said he didn't care. He hated the guy. And he was violent to my grandmother until he had, I think he had 13 kids. 5 of them were boys. He came home one night drunk, ready to go, and 5 boys took him upstairs and never touched his grandmother again. But that's all the memory of him. And all I know from my father said was that he had these gray eyes, not blue, gray. And when my son was born, my son had gray eyes.
Yep.
And I thought, if your great grandfather, who you'd never met, hadn't found a way to survive long enough to father 13 children, then
Yep.
you, my little beautiful boy, would not exist.
Yep.
And it made me realize how our stories are intertwined through history.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
that's all we know of, because we have no idea what came before him or his father, nothing. And as
Yep.
in a few generations, this conversation, we will cease to exist. It was like we never hear. The only thing that might go through is someone will be born. I don't know what color your eyes are, but they'll be born with your smile, or your ears, or your something. You know what I mean? And that's what I find interesting about the mystery of life. And I think this. I've lost my train of thought now, but I think there's a great beauty. But then remember telling my son, "Well, you're going to have a very easy life." To make amends for what your grandfather went through. But maybe my son doesn't. Maybe my
Mm.
son too has to go through arduous times and that's just how it is. Whether it's written, whether it's chance, all of these things we make up. I think Kurt Vonnegut, who wrote Stalag 17, I think he
Yeah.
said there's been, since the cave, we've had philosophers deciding what happens after death, and religious people. And guess what? We still don't know, and it's we make it up. We do, and it's
Yep. And we
and
won't know until it
won't know.
comes out
And
to
we
us.
have to live in the don't know. You basically, as I've said before, I had a fear when I was young that I was a mushroom, kept in the dark and fed shit. And then I got older and
Yep.
I finally realized I'm a mushroom.
But even if there is nothing after death, I find it philosophically futile to live a life that does not predicate itself upon the fact that there is probably something after death.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if I decide that my life is just my life, and that when I die, and then what benefit is there to me to be a decent human being? Why would I not just be some reptile who constantly takes advantage of people and steals what he can and gets away with what he can and lies? Because there's not going to be any post-death. All I've got to do, as long as I can avoid being caught in this existence, then wow, the cheetah has won.
Yeah.
And this is part of the evolution of religion, by the way, is humans desperately hoping that there is an umpire watching every move on the field of life, and it's only when we die that we get to get our demerit points. So it's a self-modifying and self-building strategy to invest in a belief that there is something beyond life. And
do you think, though, that the belief in something after life, you can feel it and know it, just not with the nerve endings in your head? There's this strange sense. Like, I knew my daughter was coming. When she was born, I really felt like I'd met her before. And I can't explain those because I don't know where those nerve endings are in my body. They're certainly not in my head, but I felt it. I feel a lot of intuition. Like, even today, this is amazing. There's a pub. We're in Tenterfield, and above Tenterfield, there's a pub on the border where they got this old grandmother's. One old grandmother has it, and it's covered in freedom signs. It's a very famous pub, and the GPS said that way, and I said that way. I had a feeling it was this way, but I followed the GPS. I was supposed to come to Lismore, and instead I'm driving the complete opposite way, and then I drive past this pub. I'm like, oh my God, it's that pub. And went in, we had a great conversation we had together, and you really felt, wow, it's just this strange synchronicity. It could have just been a coincidence, but I just happened to end up in the only pub that's covered in freedom signs in all of Australia. And so there's a big part of me now on this journey I am that could be completely delusional. I could be bonkers. I really could. I could be, to be honest, the man from effing La Mancha who's in my bus, which is my armor, and I think I'm on this. I'm just following this thing. I'm on a great quest, and I am not. Someone will hold up a map and go, "You're a short, hairy nutcase." That's it, and that could be the case. I don't know, because I'm not going to be the judge of it in the end, if there is a judge. And so all I can do is decide to go, what path am I going to follow? And what I always come back to is the Robert Frost poem. I met two paths in the wood, two paths diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. And that has never been clearer to me than the choices we made during COVID.
I agree. There's a bunch of stuff you've said there that I'm in very strong agreement. I personally,
right, Paul. You should come on, Paul.
I believe in intuition. I think that's a thing. I think there is more than just our nerve endings. I think there is some force, some vibration, some emanation. I've got no idea what it is. I want to attribute it to what we commonly call the soul. I think we've got a brain and emotions and a body, but I think there is the other thing, and that's what survives us after death. And I think even if you are the man of La Mancha, then he was a knight. He was pursuing a noble endeavor, even though he was insane. So he would, and I had the book, the Cervantes book, when I was a boy, and I managed to labour through it. It was very, very turgid prose. It was hard to read.
Tough book.
What'd you say? Yes,
it's a tough read.
But at the end of the day, he found his true love, Dulcinea, and at the end of it, he wasn't judged harshly because he was doing what he believed to be right. Now, the only thing that grown-up Lindsay now judges the Man of La Mancha on is his lack of rational evaluation of what he was doing. Surely after he tilted at the first windmill, and a sane person would have gone, wow, that hurt, and it actually didn't seem to achieve anything. Let me stand back and review what I just did. And you would get the input of your manservant. Hey, Pancho, does this look like a giant to you, or does it look like a human? You would rationalize your way back into sanity. But Don Quixote didn't do that. He just stayed in his bubble of insanity. And that's one of the many things that you and I are constantly trying to get people to do, is question whether they're captured in a bubble of local insanity. And the only way to do it is to be rational, to evaluate your own beliefs, and to open your beliefs to people who disagree with you, so that if it is actually a big windmill that you just poked your lance into, maybe someone else can point that out to you and go, wow, okay, well, I'll spend another year looking for giants, and if all I find is windmills, then I'll go to, I'll offer my services to a nearby lord, and I'll be a real knight. But people just keep tilting at windmills. It's
stuck in story. Yeah, I believe there's. I might actually come to 147. I've got the most narcissistic song ever written. It's going to end this called Always, so you'll get a laugh.
This is No Michael, is it?
Anyway, but it's got to piss all the people that want me to hate. They're going to get pissed off by this song. But can you take us out on what are your thoughts are of this week? And here we are in this space and time. We're all here in this country together. They're wanting us to hate. A lot of us are falling and doing it. They want us to live in fear, and I think we should continue this in the next time we meet, probably after Christmas, because I think this emotional terrorism is exactly what we're doing. And my thing is that the goal is, well, how do we remain human regardless of what they throw at us? But what about yourself, Lindsay?
Okay, I guess if I was trying to encapsulate where I would like people to take this from my personal perspective and my professional perspective, I would like people to permit themselves to hate behaviour, but to try and understand and have compassion for the people that are mad enough to engage in hateful behaviour. To maybe ask there, but for the grace of God go I, that at least I wasn't raised in some sort of an insane bubble where I saw no way out rationally than to try and kill my way into heaven. And I mean, that's crazier than tilting at windmills. So, I'd like people to rationally evaluate what their emotions are trying to get them to do and feel, and see whether that matches with their values and their morals. If people just did a bit more of that, then we would be less prone to emotional terrorism. We would be far less malleable and cooperative with people that are trying to manipulate us for their own benefit and to our harm. But that takes effort and courage. Making a choice is one of the most difficult things that a human can do, and it's seductively easy to do the thing that your environment is whispering to you to do. So I hope that's a bit of an encapsulation, Michael.
Thanks, Lindsay. Ali Proud, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Beautiful. What would Jesus? That's magnificent. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. This is the most narcissistic song, but I want to say, I feel so sorry for the people that have lost people at the shooting. To lose your
Devastating.
daughter like that, but to lose
Devastating.
family and friends,
Yeah.
it's such. I can't fathom how difficult position you must be in now,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so I'm not uh, disrespecting them at all. I think it's a
Yeah.
profound loss. My only hope is that the country somehow uh, flips to the better because of it, and
And just
doesn't keep
very,
going.
very briefly, one thing I did want to say, this is almost certainly the last time we'll meet publicly before Christmas. So I would like to recognise that this time of this Christian time of the year is a time of love and forgiveness and compassion and accepting. This is, celebrating the birth of the man who died, arguably, to meet the needs of our sins. If we can bring some of that genuinely Christian compassion and understanding, then I would hope we can all have the best Christmas we could have. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with you again.
Yeah, same, brother.
In the new year, mate. Okay.
No worries. Okay. Take care, everybody. And I'll probably see you Saturday night, maybe with Richard Wollstonecroft. I think he's itching to get on. And he'd have a completely different view from us too. So it'd be interesting to hear. But we give a week to give grace before he offends too many people. But he's a brilliant man. Okay, this is Always. It's going to stick in your head. You're going to hate me because you're going to get that song out of my head. But here we go. This is called Always, but it's surely called Oh, Michael. Lindsay, thank you, brother. Thank you for another fantastic show. Amazing.
Thanks,
guy.
mate.
See ya.
Catch you later.
After your brother died, you didn't have to bother with me. I'd fucked up again until every bridge should have been in flames. But as I was packing up what little remained, the phone rang and it was you. And although you never spoke the actual words, what you said to me was, Michael, always believe in love. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. I watched you walk down my streets together, you in the front of your man, lost in your boy. You're speaking a language of pausing across the road or sorting the shopping items each will carry home. And although you have never noticed me, I can hear you both whispering. And you are whispering to me, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Oh, Michael. Always believe in love. You were singing on the stage with your sisters, dancing to some rainbow fairy tale. Your voices were all small and out of time. Still we pressed record and held up our candle phones, for despite the flames of our burning world, we could all hear the angels singing. Oh, Michael. 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 Always believe in love. There's a gorilla loving a fallen human child, and we're all wrestling with shadows while wondering if inside the dark we will finally find the flower that perpetually grows. Oh, Michael, in that garden our gods call. Oh, Michael, oh, Michael, oh, Michael, oh, Michael, oh, Michael, oh, Michael.